War Party from 1988 is one of the more obscure and one of the more largely forgotten examples of Brat Pack genre cinema from the 1980s. So this one followed hot on the heels of Young Guns, which was made in 1986. This one came along just a couple of years later, so obviously production started quite quickly when Young Guns became a breakout runaway hit. So it does owe quite a bit of its DNA to Young Guns, of course, and to a lesser extent to Thunder Warrior from director Fabrizio De Angelis. I think the makers of War Party would deny this, but the parallels between this one and Thunder Warrior, aka Thunder, are pretty hard to ignore once you've seen both of them. So War Party, of course, stars Brat Packer Kevin Dillon. And the premise of this one is that a small town that relies heavily on tourism decides to stage a 100-year reenactment of a battle that took place between palefaces and Indians, or Anglos and Indigenous Americans. Depends if you want to be politically correct or not, or crude. But nevertheless, they basically decide to stage a reenactment of this battle that took place 100 years earlier, which would make it 1888, I guess, between the local Indigenous population and the invading US cavalry. So it all sounds great on paper. You've got rubber tomahawks and peacemaker pistols with blanks and so on and so forth, and convincing costumes. So they all get together for this battle, but trouble's been brewing in this town for some time, as we see from a few bits of exposition early on. There are some tensions between the local white population and the local Indigenous population, particularly in regard to this white guy that's a bit of a psychopath in the movie. And he decides to basically load his gun with real bullets, which leads to the reenaction of the famed battle, basically becoming a sequel to the famed battle, as shots are fired, people die, and the locals who are filling the Indigenous roles retaliating, understandably. So it all leads to a bit of a bloodbath on a fairly large scale, and a bunch of the young local Indigenous kids having to flee into the mountains, and then kind of progresses into a Rambo type situation, or a fugitive type situation. So quite an interesting movie. It's a lot darker than a lot of these Brat Pack movies are. Even the Brat Pack dramas of the 80s tended to be quite light and fluffy, largely due to the fact that a lot of these Nepo babies, these Brat Packers, couldn't really act. But War Party is a good deal darker than most of them tended to be. It's a more grim movie. It's full of social commentary, but it never feels like it's smacking you over the head with it like a tomahawk, or blasting you in the face with it like a US cavalry pistol. So it is... first and foremost, it is an exploitation picture, which I always like. It is full of social commentary, but they knew how to make movies back then, and it never slaps you over the face with it. It does give you the pleasure of learning something, learning about these challenges of US history, without making it basically a boring 90-minute sit-through of shit. Instead, they turn it into a fun grindhouse-type exploitation movie that really does share a lot of DNA with Thunder Warrior and also with Young Guns. So it's a bit hard to see, this one. Hard to find on streaming services, of course, unless you're willing to pay extortionate rates, I guess, to rent it. You're probably better off trying to track down a physical media copy. You're always better off trying to track down a physical media copy. But it is far more interesting than most of these Brat Pack movies from the 1980s. And has a lot more to say than most of the Brat Pack movies of the 1980s. Really, it's a pseudo Brat Pack movie, because the only recognisable star is Kevin Dillon. There's no Emilio Estevez or Judd Nelson or any of those usual Brat Packer names. So it is quite its own beast, I guess you'd say, and a fairly action-filled movie, fairly complicated plot and premise. Everything's not black and white in this one. It's more shades of grey as for who you're supposed to be rooting for, who you're supposed to be rooting against. But interesting little movie that probably, I think it kind of fell beneath the radar at the time when it was released. It wasn't as big as it could have been. Certainly wasn't any Young Guns by any stretch. And it has been largely forgotten in the annals of celluloid history. But it is one that's worth seeking out if you're after something truly different from that whole Brat Pack era. So thanks for joining me for this review. If any of you have seen War Party and you have any thoughts on the movie, by all means let us know in the comments. Otherwise, let us know what your favourite Brat Pack movie is of the 80s. And any other thoughts you have from that whole era, that whole genre of Nepo cinema. We like to think it's a new phenomenon, but everything old is new again. And otherwise, I'm off to get inside before the rain starts. Perhaps someone's done a rain dance somewhere, but that's not a bad thing. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you next time, and take it easy.